Welcome to NTN Nightly. I am Anicia Antoine. This edition's top stories. The health and safety of the population remains of paramount importance to the government during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The Cabinet of Ministers has authorized the next step in the implementation of a cannabis industry. And the Government of Saint Lucia continues to embrace digital technologies. With the reopening of the tourism sector, health and safety of the population remains of paramount importance to the government during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Since the reopening of the borders on July 9th, some 1,566 visitors and 2,256 nationals have come to Saint Lucia. As guided by the established protocols, all arriving passengers were placed in 14 days quarantine, whether at home, in a state facility, or an approved COVID-19 certified accommodation. On Thursday, July 23, 2020, a visitor was placed in a government-operated state quarantine facility after spending several nights at a certified hotel. Repeated reports of protocol infringements on the part of the visitor were received. Subsequently, the visitor was escorted to the Uranura International Airport and deported on a flight to the visitor's original jurisdiction. The Minister for Tourism, Information and Broadcasting, Culture and Creative Industries, Honorable Dominic Fede, commended the Royal St. Lucia Police Force for the swift actions taken.
We have a very low rate of non-compliance from individuals, and that is encouraging. But we also want to send a clear message that at the very appearance of people not adhering to the various protocols, that very strict action will be taken against them. And in this instance, we placed the tourist into quarantine on her way back to the airport, and as well we repatriated her back to her home country in a very managed environment the very next day. So I leave your viewers with every assurance that we are taking all the steps necessary, whether it is against a tourist or local, to ensure that they adhere to the principles.
The minister also noted that the government is working towards procuring technological equipment that will allow the tracking of individuals that have been approved for home quarantine.
What we're doing is making sure that all the individuals that come in are given the option to institutionalized quarantine, and also very few going into home quarantine. So I think the numbers suggest that we've got over 100 or so in home quarantine. Now, there have been some breaches here in this area, and I want to thank members of the public who have reported those individuals, returning nationals that have been seen, whether buying bread or going to conduct banking services. And we've had these reports and we've acted quickly. The police have been involved, and the Ministry of Health as well. Those individuals that we have found in breach, where they have applied for home quarantine in the initial stages and were approved because of the conditions of their homes and the capacity of their homes being able to do so, we've had to put them into institutionalized quarantine. So we continue to thank the general public for helping us to police this initiative.
Honorable Minister Dominic Fede reinforced the strict and mandatory travel protocols put in place for incoming travelers.
In addition to being pre-tested, returning nationals, notwithstanding their right to come back to St. Lucia, will also have to have a confirmed reservation at one of our government-operated quarantine. This is critical and important as we seek to protect the safety of our country, and we seek to minimize any potential outbreak in our country. And so we are resolute, and we ask for the cooperation of everyone in our country so that we can do our best to keep you safe.
The Ministries of Tourism and Health and Wellness remain committed towards the health and safety of St. Lucians and visitors. The Cabinet of Ministers has authorized the Ministry of Commerce in collaboration with the Attorney General's Department to draft the legislative and regulatory framework to assist in the controlled implementation of a cannabis industry. Lead Minister on the issue, Honorable Bradley Felix, addressed this at a press conference on Tuesday, the 28th of July. Jesse Leos has the details.
Exactly 1 year after the Cannabis Commission was appointed on island to consult and provide recommendations, the Cabinet of Ministers have approved the next step for cannabis industry in Saint Lucia.
At yesterday's cabinet meeting, there was consensus with regards to one, authorizing the Ministry of Commerce and the Attorney General Chambers to draft the legislative and the regulatory framework to assist in the implementation of a cannabis industry.
This draft will address personal, religious, and medicinal use.
We also included in that for us to look at scientific research and also to setting up a sort of a license regime to govern the industry.
Authorization was also given to explore the expunging of cannabis-related offences of non-violent offenders. St. Lucia currently maintains penalties ranging from 3 years in prison or a fine of $100,000 on summary conviction, or 14 years in prison or a fine of $200,000 on indictment. In Parliament last week, Honourable Felix reaffirmed the need to address cannabis law reform.
70% of inmates admitted for cannabis-related offences were between the ages of 20 to 35, and over 50% of these had a secondary or tertiary level education. Mr. Speaker, over 90% of those convicted and imprisoned for cannabis were employed. Therefore, it would seem that this regime succeeds in robbing us of young, able, contributing members to our society and economy.
Cabinet's approval comes after the conclusion of a series of stakeholder consultations conducted by the local Cannabis Commission. Continuing to proceed cautiously and deliberately on this matter, the minister assures that the legislative and regulatory draft coming out of his ministry will be subject to scrutiny before it is tabled in Parliament.
That draft framework would not only be reviewed subsequently it will come to Cabinet, but it will have to be reviewed by various agencies, for example, the Bar Association and other agencies who put in terms of reviewing these things and giving us their feedback. And then we go to Cabinet with that final decision, and Cabinet also reviews the draft legislation in terms of going forward to Parliament.
For the Government Information Service, I am Jessie Leonce reporting.
The Government of Saint Lucia continues to build on its digital foundation through the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project. The project is expected to contribute to increased digital connectivity, digital public services, and the creation of technology-enabled businesses and jobs across the participating countries. More in this report from Janelle Norville.
The digital transformation of the public sector remains high on the government's priority list as the Government of Saint Lucia secures finance for the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, Digital Caribbean. This project, which will build on the digital foundations established by the ongoing Caribbean Regional Communications Infrastructure Program, CARSIP, was brought to the House of Assembly on Tuesday, 21st July 2020. Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, the Honorable Alan Chasney, explained that the COVID-19 pandemic has made it even more evident the need for the improvement of the provision of governmental services to citizens through e-commerce.
COVID-19 has further emphasized the urgent need for the Government of Saint Lucia to modernize the legal, regulatory, and institutional framework governing the telecommunications sector to adequately address market failures, promote consumer interest and digital inclusion, as well as keep pace with rapid technology advancements. Hence, Mr. Speaker, the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, or Digital Caribbean, is so timely in its implementation. Some of the very same weaknesses which were identified previously will now be swiftly remedied, as we will invariably be operating within this virtual space for the foreseeable future. The project is relevant and consistent with the government's national development vision to embrace digital technologies. It is also timely given the current economic downturn and the opportunities for employment and entrepreneurship that will be created.
The primary objective of the project is to increase access to digital services, technologies, and skills by governments, businesses, and individuals in the participating Eastern Caribbean countries. To achieve these objectives, according to Prime Minister the Honorable Alan Chastanet, the project is subdivided into 4 components: creating a digitally enabling environment to foster competition, investment, and innovation while promoting trust and security for online transactions; building digital government infrastructure, platforms and services, teaching digital skills, promoting technology adoption, and providing project implementation support.
Since this is largely a Caribbean initiative targeting the Eastern Caribbean states, the activities at the regional level will be financed through the Regional IDA grant through the OECS Secretariat. A Regional Project Oversight Committee will be established. It will be co-chaired by the OECS Commission and ECCB. Mr. Speaker, you would note that this project will not only benefit the government. The benefits will be shared among a wide range of stakeholders, including businesses, citizens, residents, and visitors. Businesses and individuals will be able to access public services and carry out transactions with the government more efficiently and conveniently through online platforms, whilst individuals will have greater access to training opportunities and support to help them find new digitally enabled jobs. Businesses will also enjoy productivity gains through added support for technology adoption and training in online marketing and e-commerce.
The Government of Saint Lucia has secured a 40-year concessional loan of $20 million from the International Development Association with a 10-year grace period to finance the project. From the Government Information Service, I am Janelle Norville.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister, the Honorable Alan Chastanet, has extended condolences on behalf of the government and people of St. Lucia to the government and people of Barbados following the passing of the Right Honorable Owen Arthur, former Prime Minister of Barbados. Honorable Owen Arthur was Barbados's longest-serving Prime Minister from 1994 to 2008. In offering condolences, Prime Minister Chastanet referred to the late Owen Arthur as a patriot who he had the deepest respect for. Prime Minister Chastanet indicated that he had in the past worked closely with the former Prime Minister, especially on the issue of the Caribbean Single Market and Economy, CSME.
And not only was he a patriot for Barbados, but you can honestly say that he was a consummate patriot for the Caribbean. His leadership role with CSME and the vision that he had in terms of integrating the Caribbean will always be remembered. And I will always have the greatest amount of respect for him. And his last role as the chairman of LIATA, not an enviable position to be in, but despite how difficult it was, even at this late stage, that he was prepared to take that on. And again, I know that he was not just doing it for Barbados, but he was doing it for all of us in the Caribbean.
St. Lucia's flag was flown at half-mast in recognition of the late Owen Arthur and in recognition of former St. Lucian Member of Parliament and Attorney at Law, the late Kenneth Foster, QC, who recently passed and was laid to rest in an official funeral. This is NTN Nightly. We will be back in a moment.
It is possible for infected food handlers or workers to introduce the COVID-19 virus into food or onto surfaces within the food business by coughing and sneezing or through hand contact unless they strictly follow good personal hygiene practices. Food handlers must wash their hands before starting work, before handling cooked or ready-to-eat food, after handling or preparing raw food, after handling waste, after cleaning duties, after using the toilet, after blowing their nose or sneezing or coughing, after eating or drinking, and after handling money. More than ever before, your important role as gatekeepers of St. Lucia's nutritional health and food security should be taken seriously. When you exercise these precautions, you not only safeguard your health, but also continue to allow St. Lucians access to clean, healthy, and safe food. Remember, it is our responsibility to ensure our nation eats fresh, Saint Lucia's best.
Welcome back. Mayor of Castries, His Worship Peterson D. Francis, last week took the opportunity to bid farewell to the Ambassador of the Republic of China, Taiwan, His Excellency Douglas Shen. At the brief send-off, Mayor Francis said goodbye to Ambassador Shen, expressing his gratitude to the departing diplomat for his valuable support to this country during his tenure here. The Taiwanese embassy has made its mark through partnerships and cooperation with the Castries Constituency Council, particularly during the annual Festival of Lights. The Embassy of the Republic of China, Taiwan was also at the forefront of the twinning between the cities of Taipei and Castries. The twinning paves the way for upcoming plans to develop Castries into a smart city. Mayor Francis expressed hope that the Embassy of the Republic of China, Taiwan will continue being a bridge facilitating further cooperation. Quote, "I wish that the relations between the municipality and the embassy will continue to be constructive and successful. We will always be ready to support the activities of the embassy. I want to assure you that the doors will always be open towards a mutually beneficial cooperation between the capitals of the two countries, to which, of course, the new ambassador will also contribute. I would also like to convey my admiration for and gratitude to you for your work, which is an important element that will greatly contribute to shaping effective cooperation between our two countries." End quote. That brings us to the end of NTN Nightly. Join us next time at 7 p.m. with a repeat at 7 a.m. You can also catch up with us anytime on the St. Lucia Government Facebook page or YouTube channel. I am Anicia Antoine.